The second book in the Silver Eyes trilogy, The Twisted Ones, released in January of 2017. It is comparatively smaller to its predecessor and seems to function mainly as a stepstone to the third installment, The Fourth Closet. Let's have a closer look at how it affects the lore so far, in particular the new lore we have been given in Sister Location. Chapter 1. Charlie is now attending college courses under a Dr. Treadwell who teaches robotics. A boy called Artie is in her class and appears to be infatuated by her. Charlie notes on her 18th birthday she began having bad dreams and sensing that Sammy was somewhere nearby. That August, she had a fight with Aunt Jen and told her she was returning to Hurricane. She would end up moving in with Jessica in St. George. It is noted the events at Freddy's occurred last year, according to the characters. The fact that Charlie also drives to Hurricane but then turns back to stay with Jessica shows that wherever Aunt Jen stays, it is located somewhere west of St. George. It is interpreted that this book takes place in the fall of the year, perhaps September or October. It is noted in St. George Freddy's is an urban legend. We know at some point Charlie had returned to the house she grew up in for Theodore and has used his parts in a project using two robot heads to communicate that strongly resemble the heads we find in the Sister Location's main office. It is revealed John has taken up work in Hurricane as his cousin got him a construction job. A storm is noted to also have hit Hurricane before Charlie arrived, but this may be an error as she clearly visited the old house before the storm hit it. We also learn that St. George has a movie theatre as well as a Thai restaurant, which are located down the street from the college. Chapter 2. Clay Burke appears and takes Charlie to a crime scene and reveals that Carlton has moved away. A male victim is revealed to have suffered injuries resembling spring locks. It is noted there is no way Dave could have survived these twice, according to the characters. Clay also reveals to Charlie that Freddy's was excavated, yet Dave's body was never recovered. The site was being torn down before the storm paused the work, leaving it half demolished. Clay also reveals that fake blood was found in the hall where Dave was apparently killed. This fake blood appears to be very convincing and can only be notably seen to be fake when put under a microscope. Chapter 3. John reveals that during the summer after Freddy's incident in the first book, he met a girl named Rebecca and had a 6-month relationship with her. John and Charlie go from the Thai place to the theatre, which is only a few blocks away, and John reveals he lives at the motel where Charlie stayed in the previous book. Chapter 4. John visits Charlie's dorm, and Charlie reveals that she retrieved Theodore's head before school started while staying with Jessica. She left Stanley and Ella as they were both bolted down. Charlie tells Theodore that she will put him back together. The robot heads have a hearing aid that can allow them to recognize a human as one of them and communicate with them. Charlie and Jessica would go to Freddy's. Notably, the stage is still standing, some walls still remain, and some areas are noted to still have the ceilings intact, while the rest has been partially demolished. Pirates Cove is revealed to have a storage hatch, which is revealed to have Springtrap hidden inside of it. The suit is no longer yellow as described in the previous book, but is now yellow with green and pink patches of mould covering it. Dave is notably shriveled and rotten within the suit. Charlie feels nauseous upon looking at the body. Oddly enough, they leave and appear to just leave the body there on its own. Chapter 5. Charlie has begun to draw boxes subconsciously. She feels compelled to go to Hurricane, and en route she discovers another body near the highway. The woman named Tracy Horton, looks like Charlie. A gas station that is severely run down sits halfway between Hurricane and St. George and is run by a weird boy. From here, Charlie phones for help. Clay would reveal to Charlie that a third victim was also found 2 days prior, another girl. Charlie then goes to Tracy's house where she discovers 3 large graves that are dug up in her yard. Chapter 6. An Italian place is located across the town from Tracy's house, and we also learn that a construction site is located 1 mile from Charlie's house. It is implied that Tracy lives in Hurricane, and her house is noted to be on a back road. Returning to her old house, Charlie finds a photograph of when she was the same size as Ella, but she has no memory of this. In the workshop, it is noted tools are sitting in place where they were last used. This does seem to be in contradiction to what we saw in the Silver Eyes, where it was noted that everything was packed away and that most of the equipment was removed. Along with John, she discovers that there is a secret room revealed to be hidden underneath the old house, which has been exposed by the storm. Inside it, they discover 4 graves, one of which still has a twisted foxy within, as it has become damaged. The technology here is notably older than that used within Freddy's, and contains both Henry's work and someone else's. A small disc-shaped object is found in the chest cavity of the Foxy animatronic, which appears to be the size of a coin, which emits a noise. Charlie remembers she found one of these while removing stuff from the house when she took Theodore. Notably, this parallels the disc object that we see removed from Funtime Freddy. Chapter 7. It is revealed that the discs are made by Afton Robotics LLC. The victims are plotted on a map and reveal that their homes form a line between Henry's house and the college. An abandoned apartment complex is located between St. George and the gas station and is picked as the next likely target by the animatronics. Chapter 8. Clay reveals that Betty left him and the wolf animatronic attacks a woman, but she survives. Chapters 9 and 10. Charlie notes that, as far as she can recall, Freddy's never had a wolf character. She has a memory of a toy frog that Henry dissects while ignoring her cries to stop. She asks herself why Henry would bury the robots underneath the house. Charlie then goes to the newly constructed houses between the 2 towns and allows the suits to capture her. Chapter 11. We learn that Clay sent Betty to her sisters after the Freddy's incident, then removed the suits and put them in his own basement. A few weeks later, she would find that he has kept them, and after a heated argument, they separated. When the suits in Clay's basement are asked for help, and they hear the name of Afton, they convulse and proceed to break out. The 5 original suits are all present within the basement. Chapter 12. Twisted Freddy is revealed to be able to turn his eyes to see inside of himself. His eyes are also notably blue. The group are led to Charlie by what appears to be a Shadow Freddy. The follow me symbolism mirrors the FNAF 3 bad ending. Charlie is then revealed to be taken to a Freddy's facility with blue tablecloths. There is a mixture of animal and clown animatronics present, one of which is a curved-beaked bird who sits over a rubber duck game, and 3 chimps which sit atop arcade cabinets. A room with a mechanical waterfall with a passage underneath is also present and has been filled with fuel cans, which are presumed to be to fuel the waterfall. This leads to another room that hosts a swarm of at least 4 balloon boys. One is noted to be red and blue, 1 purple, possibly JJ, and one blue and yellow. A closet also exists with multiple unfinished suits, a grey amphibian, a brown rabbit with slicked back ears, a black dog with red eyes. It is revealed that the black lights used as lighting within the facility are generating the same illusions as the disc devices within the animatronics. Chapter 13. It is now noted that the Twisted Freddy has red eyes. Its illusion disc appears to have been broken after being shot by Clay. The Twisted Bonnie and Wolf reveal Springtrap to the group, who claims to be better than Dave or Afton or Henry, naming himself Springtrap. He notes that the use of a choreography system allows him to control the suits thanks to being merged with the Springlock suit. He claims that he was trapped within the storage on the Pirate Cove stage and could see through the eyes of the other robots. He implies they would have released him eventually if Charlie had not done so. He notably doesn't breathe and is now swollen and rotting in appearance. The Twisted Bonnie and Wolf are set ablaze while crossing the fake river using the gasoline within the facility. Foxy then shows up and takes out the wolf, while Chica and Bonnie take down the Twisted Bonnie. Freddy also shows up to destroy the Balloon Boy squad. Golden Freddy, however, is not actually seen to be present during this sequence. When Charlie confronts Springtrap, he reveals he took her and not Sammy, before fleeing through a trapdoor, leaving her with many unanswered questions. As the complex begins to collapse, the group flee through tunnels that lead to the secret room under Henry's house. In the room, Charlie discovers a secret door and feels like she is on both sides of it. The Twisted Freddy would manage to crawl out of the tunnels and grab Charlie before forcing her into its stomach cavity. She is then spring-locked. Assisted by Officer Thompson, Clay evacuates the house as it begins to collapse, and John sees Aunt Jen briefly in the room before he is dragged out. Later, as John and Jessica sit in the diner with Artie, Marla arrives. A woman would also shortly arrive who resembles Charlie, but John immediately claims it is not her. So we have a few questions raised through the course of this story. The villain Springtrap appears to claim that he was controlling the robots remotely and that they would have released him eventually anyway, and yet they didn't do that first. They just immediately went straight to walking across the two towns. Also interesting to note is that the killings created by the Twisted robots appear to be random until Charlie uncovers the body of Springtrap, which she weirdly leaves, it seems, for no apparent reason. And then, following that, the next victim heavily resembles Charlie. What is also interesting is the fact that when Charlie and Jessica uncover Springtrap, he does appear to be dead. So, if he was controlling the robots, why wasn't he alive or active upon them uncovering his body? Why did he just lie there? He could have grabbed Charlie straight there and then if that was his goal, as it appeared to be in the first book. And indeed, that does appear to be the objective in this book, as the animatronics are traversing between the graves under Henry's house and the college in St. George on their way to get Charlie, or at the very least are leaving a trail to lead her back. So why exactly are they doing this, if not to lure or capture Charlie? We also have the question raised as to why Henry has the fake pizzeria beneath his house, where he has the illusion discs placed within the lighting to create a weird environment, which it raises the issue of why Henry would have this exactly, unless he was up to something. which further goes against his character as we have seen so far in the book series. We also leave off this instalment with the fate of the animatronics left uncertain. Golden Freddy does not appear in the finale fight, so he is therefore out for the count. The 4 other original animatronics also appear to have been inside the bunker when the entire facility collapsed, along with the heavily damaged remains of the Wolf and Twisted Bonnie animatronics. The only animatronics that were even remotely close to the surface to be excavated appear to be the nightmarish Twisted Freddy and Foxy. The teaser that we get at the end of the book revealing a identical woman to Charlie arriving also furthers the point that this book does indeed appear to just be the setup for the final novel in the trilogy. And so with that, I'm going to leave this instalment hanging for now until we reach the final book in the trilogy to do a roundup of the entire season as a whole. In the next instalment, we will explore FNAF 6, or the Pizzeria Simulator, the second instalment intended to appear to be an end to the Freddy's saga.